I was asked to announce. I was asked to announce for all the guys that there is something called Torah Sweets. Torah Sweets is the perfect companion for the Shabbos table. There's a weekly story. It's probably a weekly newsletter. There's a weekly story, quote, humor, halacha, musar, written by today's leading rabbis, and best of all, is totally free. All you need to do is email the editor at Torah Sweets, Torah, T-O-R-A-H, Sweets, S-W-E-T-S, at gmail.com, and join the growing list today. Okay, so that's called Torah Sweets. You get a newsletter with all sorts of stuff on the Parsha, this, that, and the other. Okay, so yesterday, I left you with a question. Page 3 said, no, turn that off. Turn that off. We don't need that. What is that? Why is it? No. Chas v'shalom, no heat. Thank God. What's the Havamina? Now what? Is it going to go off? Well, on page 366, so it says, Vayikach Moshe, fifth line from the top. I left you with a question yesterday. Good job. Is that going to go off on its own? Okay. Vayikach Moshe es atzmos Yosef imel. Moshe took Yosef's bones with him. Ki hashbeah hishbias b'nei Yisrael lemar. Yosef had invoked an oath on the Jewish people, saying, Pakod yifkod Elokim eschem. God will redeem you. V'alisem es atzmos mizaitchem. Now, I'd asked you yesterday a question, because it looks like, from the plain meaning of the pasuk, it looks like Moshe Rabbeinu told Yosef, everybody take a chumash, everybody should have a chumash. Moshe Rabbeinu took the bones because Yosef invoked an oath. And if Yosef wouldn't have invoked an oath, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu did it, because Yosef made him swear. So the plain meaning of the pasuk is, they saw that Yosef invoked an oath, so they did it. Yeah, he had to do it. Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu might have done it anyway. But I saw a completely different explanation. That why did Yosef merit to have Moshe Rabbeinu take his bones? Why did why was Moshe Rabbeinu the one who took the bones? So the answer is that Yosef, first of all, had buried his father, right? So Yosef had taken care of his father. So then Moshe Rabbeinu takes care of Yosef. You get what we spoke about earlier about Mida Keneged Mida. Hashem pays you. You get what you deserve. But the question is, why did Yosef himself have to invoke an oath? Why did he have to invoke an oath? What, Yosef didn't think the people would pay him back for everything that he did? The answer is that Yosef didn't take any credit for what he did for the Jewish people. Yosef, in his humility, felt, I haven't done anything for you. Anyway, I was put here by the Rebbe Shalom. Remember what Yosef said to the brothers when the brothers came? Yosef said to the brothers, listen, it's not you. Hashem put me here. So Yosef didn't feel that he did anything that remarkable by taking care of supporting the entire family and taking care of the Jewish people. Sometimes in life, a person feels you did something for somebody. You have to realize, it wasn't me. Let's say you're a wealthy man. Let's say I'm a wealthy man. And say amen. And I give away a lot of money, right? So then, if you're a wealthy man and you give away money, you might start getting a little big-headed, because you gave away a lot of money. You have to realize I didn't do any of that. Coach Roll gave me money. What else did he give me the money for? Right? He didn't get money so I could make an at-home entertainment center. He gave me money so I could help other people. And if you truly believe it, you have enough humility that you actually believe I really didn't do anything over it. All I did was give away what was given to me. So Yosef's humility, therefore, he felt, I don't know, these people don't owe me anything. Therefore, he invoked an oath. He didn't feel that anybody really owed him anything. That's how humble he was. He didn't feel that anybody owed him anything, even though he supported and took care of everybody. And therefore, what was his merit? That the most humble person in history buries him. That he is the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu taking him out. Number one. Number two, it says that the Jewish people then go and they get to, They go to, in Pasuk Yud Tes, they leave Mitzrayim now. So it says, Vayisu misukos v'yachzu beisa miksei hamidbar. They're at the edge of the desert, and then you have an ongoing miracle, which you got to pay attention to. V'Hashem holech lifneim yomam ba'amud anan la'anchos haderech. There's a cloud of glory ahead of them. V'layla b'amud eish le'hir lem l'leches yomam v'layla. And at night there was a pillar of fire, and this went on for 40 years. You kind of take it for granted. Oh yeah, there's our pillar of fire. It's nighttime, pillar of fire time. There's an ongoing nace for the Jewish people. Okay, so then the Jewish people find that they're in trouble. So they go to, they're standing at the edge of the Yam Suf, and Pharaoh starts chasing after the Jewish people. And when Pharaoh comes out, it says the Jewish people start moving, and it looks, skip on page 368, Posuk Zayin. Pasuk Gimel. The Omar Paro, 3 lines from the top. The Omar Paro livnei Yisrael. Paro said about the Jewish people, he hears that they're wandering around. Nevuchim ein ba'aretz, they're confused in the land. Sagar aleim hamidbar, the desert is closed in on them. So one of the Hasidic masters says over here that the pasuk, in the Torah, I've told you many times, the Torah, there are no vowels in the Torah. So he says, Nevuchim hein ba'aretz, people get confused with earth, with physicality, with their immersion in the material of the world. And you know what happens then? Sagar alehem hamidaber. Hamidaber is the ability to speak. That means our Torah, use speech for learning Torah. Tefillah, our prayer, it all gets kind of interfered with. A person who's busy, Sagar alehem nevuchim, you're so confused with our pursuit of the material, of living life in the material. That's the ultimate rat race. You get up in the morning, your average person gets up in the morning, goes to work, so they can make a livelihood, so they could eat and go to sleep and get up and go to work. You're just in this vicious cycle without ever really asking yourself why you're doing it. And a Torah Jew could easily get caught up in that also. That's one of the benefits of Shabbos. Shabbos is where everything comes to a grinding halt. In Shabbos, you have a little bit of time to stop and think, why are we doing all this? Where are we going with all this? So sometimes people on Shabbos, just instead of thinking about it, they don't want to think about it. You get involved with the Kiddush club, and you take a couple of, you get nice and ripped, so that you don't have to confront yourself and think about why you're doing it. The easiest thing is drink Shabbos away. Have some chol, drink some booze, get comatose for about 4 hours, and get shy. People can't wait for Shabbos to end. Isn't that interesting? I can't wait what time is Shabbos over? People can't wait for Shabbos to end. What's Shabbos? Shabbos is Makor HaBracha. The rest of the week is curse, because you got to work. That was the curse to Adam Rishon. By the sweat of your brow you will work. That's not a blessing, that's a curse. Shabbos is a moment of blessing, and a person gets to the moment of blessing, and they can't take it. Then people have Yontif. 2 days Yontif. Oy. And then when you get 2 days Yontif followed by a Shabbos, a 3-dayer. 3 days. People have Yontif for 3 days. They go, what are we going to do? 3 days of Yontif. What are you going to do? 3 days of Yontif. In America, the women in America, from families in America, all have an extra freezer. In Israel, it only happens, you only get a 3-dayer in Israel when Rosh Hashanah is bumper to bumper with Shabbos, because the other Yontifs are all 1 day. So you can have 2-day Yontif. But we rarely when they get a 3-day Yontif in Israel, the women go into a panic, because they're not equipped for it. In America, everybody's got an extra freezer. You got a freezer and a second freezer and a third. You got all the, you got freezers. In Israel, you don't have room for a freezer. You have room for your kids. You have room for a freezer, right? So you got 3 days Yontif. You got to figure out how are you going to do 3 days Yontif. But it's like, oh man, it's 3 days Yontif. Oh, and so people moan and groan. What are you moaning and groaning about? What are you supposed to do? 3 days, you get to eat and sleep for 3 days, which is your life dream anyway. So what are you so upset about? Then what happens if another meal? People actually complain about, I got to have another meal. Then the minute Yontif ends, let's go out to eat. Right? After complaining for 3 days, true or not true? After complaining for 3 days about another meal, you know what it is? You know what it really is? People have. I always wondered what's a rough 3-day Yontif? What's supposed to get a good book or get something? You get some sunflower seeds, munch away. What's the problem here? I think the problem is much deeper. It's not because we can't shower for 3 days. Oh please, you never shower for 3 days. A big deal. So what? So you won't shower for 3 days. I just saw in America they have a 72-hour deodorant. Yeah, that's good. That puts you. It's like a twice a weeker. Right? You don't have to bother with it. You have to bother with it every day. Or they have the 48-hour one. There's a 72-hour one. And soon they come up with a 365-day one. What's really, okay, you can't shower, that's what's bothering you. What's really bothering? I think what's really bothering people is because at some level we sense that Yontif, Shabbos, Yontif, something deeper is really supposed to be happening. It's not about the food. It's not about coming to the meal. Oh, the meat is so lean, right? There's more to it than that. At some level, there's more to it than that. And a person who isn't in any way attached, connected to Ruchnius, all of a sudden you realize for 3 days over, it's not just because I got to go to shul. It's for 3 days I realize that this is, there's something supposed to be happening here. You're sitting with your family, you're sitting with guests at a table. So you can't, there's nothing wrong with chatting. There's nothing wrong. There's supposed to be a Dvar Torah, a little singing, that sort of thing. But I realize that this is really what it's about. And it's almost an unpleasant reminder that this is really what's supposed to be going on the rest of the year too. That I'm supposed to be somehow more connected to a higher value, as opposed to just going through the motions like we do. There are people who love the 3-day yontifs. Those are people who are connected, because 3-day yontifs gives you a chance to even upgrade on what you've already pursuing as ruchnias. So it's what do you call it? Here, a person gets involved, you're so involved, you barely have time to daven mincha. You barely have time. Sagar aleim hamidaber. You don't even have time to daven. By the time you get to shul, the whole time in davening, all you're thinking about, person's always thinking about is, I'm not blaming anybody. It's a very difficult thing to balance both. But that's one of the things that's alluded to here, is that a person could get so caught up in his material pursuits, which anyway are transient. I heard about this guy is sitting in a restaurant, real rich guy. He's sitting in a restaurant and talking to a friend of his. He said, I'm so rich. I am so rich. I am so rich. There's no way my money can be taken away from me. There's no. Just then this cheeky waiter passes by and says, yes, but you can be taken away from your money. Right? And that person never knows. You could be spending your whole life. Next thing you know, a person's horizontal. Right, so you can't. A person has to stay focused. You got to make a parnasa. But at the end of the day, don't get caught up with it. Okay. Now, they go to what do you call it? They go to they're by Yam Suf, and the Jewish people are nervous. Take a look at the top of page 370. And we see something fascinating here. It says, Uparo hikriv. Paro came close. Vayisu b'nei Yisrael esei nehem. The Bnei Yisrael raised their eyes. V'hinei Mitzrayim nosea achareim. Egypt is coming after them. The Jewish people are there, and they see the Egyptians. Now, there are different numbers in the Midrashim. There's one opinion that the Jews outnumbered the Egyptians. You got 600,000 males. Yeah, how many Egyptians could there be? There's another opinion that the Egyptians outnumbered the Jews. And the Medrash uses various big numbers. Right? One of the numbers the Medrash uses is the Egyptians outnumbered the Jews by 300 to 1. So the number 300, which we find in the Gemara all the time, the number 300 is the number of permissible exaggeration. Permissible exaggeration. Like we say in English, if I say to you, I told you 1,000,000 times, don't do that. You're allowed to do. If there are two types of exaggeration. Right? Let's explain this for a second. Is it permissible to exaggerate? Right. So, I was walking the other day. 3 guys started up with me, and I put all 3 of them in the hospital. So actually, it wasn't 3; it was 1. And it wasn't guys; it was a little old lady. And I didn't put her in the hospital. She hit me over the head with her purse. But I was just exaggerating. I was exaggerating, or what we call embellishing. Embellishing is a lie. That's a lie. That's false. That's a lie. There's another form of exaggeration, which is what we call figure of speech exaggeration. If I say to you, I told you 1,000,000 times, don't do that. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's a figure of speech, and you find it in the Gemara. The Gemara says, for example, that it took 300 Kohanim to immerse the parochas in the Beis Hamikdash when it became Tameh. And we know you couldn't even fit 300 Kohanim around it. Korach had 300 donkeys carrying the keys to his treasure houses. Didn't have 300 donkeys, didn't have loaded with keys to his treasure houses. That's how we understand. 300 is the number, like we say 1,000,000 times. I told you 1,000,000 times, don't exaggerate. Right? The 300 is the number that's used in Gemara. So there is a medrash that says they were outnumbered 300 to 1. Now, let's say that's literal. Are there 2.5 million Jews outnumbered by 300 to 1? That means there are 800 million Egyptians. Right? Imagine that you look up and you're being chased by 300 to 1. The 2.5 million Jews out times three, what do you call it? 300. So it comes out to 800 million about, right? 700, 800 million. All right, so you look up and you're being chased by mainland China, right? The entire population of mainland China is chasing you and they all know karate, right? So you're what do you call it? We got trouble over here, right? And they go, oh, say Shabbat, and say, we got an issue over here. Number one. Number two, let's say they don't know karate, or let's say it's not literal. To the Jewish people, that's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. Now, what's interesting is over here, so what happens? Mitzrayim nosei vayiru me'od, they're very afraid, vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem. They're very afraid, they yell out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So first of all, I saw once according to one opinion, when Pharaoh chased, there's a medrash that says Pharaoh chasing the Jewish people gets them to do tshuva. How does it get them to do tshuva? So there's a medrash that says there was a king and there was a damsel in distress. And the bad guys were hassling her, and the king came and he saved her. And after he saved her, he wanted to marry her. But she wouldn't talk to him. Gave the cold shoulder. So what did the king do? He went and he hired some thugs to start up with her again. And as soon as they started up with her, she started screaming, help, help. He says, that's what I wanted to hear. Her voice, her lovely voice, which sounds like fingernails on a chalkboard, but her lovely voice, right? That's what I wanted to hear. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves the Jewish people from Mitzrayim, takes them out. And then you're kind of silent. I want to hear you again, boys. So he brings Mitzrayim. He has Pharaoh chase after the Jewish people. And that causes the Jewish people, vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael Hashem. That was the lovely sound that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear your dependence. I want to hear you davening to me again. So Pharaoh, the Jewish people start yelling out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, there's if you look at Rashi here, take a look at Rashi. Remarkable. Rashi says, Uparo hikriv. Top Rashi. So Rashi says, second line, Noseya acharehem. Belev echad, with one heart, ki ish echad, like one man. The Egyptians were united, like one heart and one man, to chase after the Jewish people. Now you understand the folly over here. You just sent these people out because you had a 10-step ulpan in suffering, right, for a course of a year. You sent the people out willingly, and all of a sudden Mitzrayim turns and say, yo, what did we do? Right? They got all our stuff, right? Let's go. And they go chasing after the Jewish people. Now, I want you to turn for a second to Perek Yud Tes Pasuk Beis. It's on keep the page over here. And remember what Rashi says, Belev echad ki ish echad. And take a look at Perek Yud Tes Pasuk Beis. It's on 402. 400, sorry. And this is where it describes the Jewish people are standing at Sinai. And 4 lines from the bottom. Vayisu merefidim, the Jewish people go from a place called Refidim. Vayavo midbar Sinai vayachanu bamidbar. They camp in the desert. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi is on the left column. Left column. The end of the first line. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Top line, left column on page 400. Vayichan sham Yisrael. They camped there, says Rashi. Ki ish echad belev echad. Like one man with one heart. And look how Rashi describes the Egyptians over here. Over here, they're described belev echad ki ish echad. Where we are over here, Rashi says They're one heart and one man. The Jewish people are described as one man with one heart. The flipping over of the terminology. You hear the difference. So what does that mean? Why are the Egyptians are one heart, one man? The Jewish people, one man with one heart. The answer is, one of the explanations is, the Jewish people are one man. We are one. We're united. If a Jew's in trouble in Argentina, when something happens to a Jew in Argentina, Jews across the world, something happened in Argentina. Right? There was a Jew in Argentina that got killed or got hassled, or whatever it is. Everybody around, all the Jews around the world are, did you hear what happened in Argentina? If a goy gets killed in Nebraska, you don't hear goyim in England say, a goy got killed in Nebraska. Why? Because they're splintered. They're separate. The Jews we are ish echad. What's our problem? We're not always lev echad. Everybody, sometimes we have different opinions. So they say two Jews, three opinions, right? You got at Har Sinai, they were ish echad, which is the standard. Belev echad, they were totally united. The Jewish people were totally united. Everybody David nusach Ashkenaz ben Sion. Totally united at Har Sinai. How do you like that? Totally united. Everybody finally saw it my way. Right? Right? Everybody, that's not what it means. You could daven your own nusach. But everybody was united. Everybody was united. What about the Egyptians? They're splintered. B'leiv echad, when they all have the same idea, then they become ke'ish echad, but otherwise not. In this particular case, they were leiv echad. Let's all chase the Jewish people. Me'ish echad, that we're united. We're on the same team. It's like baseball players. It's like a sports team. When you're on our team, you're ish echad. The minute we trade you, or somebody pays you more money, boo, right? And the fans, they don't like you anymore, right? You're only ish echad if you were leiv echad. As soon as you're not leiv echad, you're not ish echad. The Jewish people were always ish echad. The Jewish people are always ish echad. The only problem is that sometimes we're not leiv echad, and therefore they're described as ish echad leiv echad. Now, I saw according to the opinion that the Jews outnumbered the Egyptians. So why are they so scared? Yeah, Jake.
If that's true, then why did they run out?
If what's true? If what's true?
If we're ish echad, right?
Right.
Then why did they run out Moshe when he found out? What was it, Yosef? I'm sorry. When he found out he killed the Egyptian.
Moshe, why'd they snitch on Moshe? Apparently at that point they weren't leiv echad. Listen, it's an idea. It doesn't mean that we don't have the internal fighting. But essentially we're ish echad. I mean, Jews have killed Jews in history. There have been fighting. What's that?
They didn't even hear him out.
Right. You're right. But I'm right. In other words, the Jews, it's a concept. Conceptually, we are ish echad. It doesn't mean exactly what does that concept embrace. You're right. They're going to be there's what do you call it? Your question's a good question. Conceptually, we are ish echad. You see that the Jewish people are united. We're essentially united. I mean, there's been a lot of internal fighting at time of second base of each other. We're killing each other. But as a group, we are united. Somebody once described, you know what the Jewish people really are? What is it? What is Judaism? People that try to, is it a nationality? Is it a religion? It's kind of weird, right? What is Judaism? It's not like anything else. What is Judaism? The answer is Judaism, we're a family. We're a family. That's why you could convert into Judaism. You're an adopted member of the family, but now you're officially part of the family. Judaism is a family. We're brothers, believe it or not. Ben Sion. We're brothers. Yeah, so you should be davening my nusach. Yeah, so yeah, I'm the older brother. You should be doing it my way. So we're all what do you call? We're brothers. Judaism, we're a family. Families have feuds too. Sometimes the first family in history, one brother killed the other brother. That was the first family in history. He killed him. So there's a family. Judaism is a family. By the goyim, a goy in Argentina doesn't care what happened to a goy in Scotland. They find out, by us, something happened in Lakewood. Something happened in New York. Something happened in Denver. All of a sudden, Jews all over the world. Can you believe it? Something happened in a shul. There was a shul desecrated somewhere in Pittsburgh. There was a wedding call. Something happened in London. The Jews all over the world are focused on the Jews. What happened over here? What's it got to do with me? The answer is that your family. When something happens in your family, you get. Doesn't matter how far your family member is. It's a family. I just heard, by the way, there's this rabbi. This rabbi was. He was trying to give there's a couple came to this rabbi for a get. They want to get divorced. And he had a sense about the husband. He had heard the husband was converted, and he just didn't have he had developed a sixth sense for these things. He said to the husband, can you just tell me, how did your conversion work out? So he told him who the Beis Din was. He goes, yeah, and then what happened? He says, well, they did the what do you call it? They told me to immerse in the mikveh, and then they walked out of the room. And I didn't feel like immersing in the mikveh at the conversion. He said, I didn't feel like immersing in the mikveh, so I just took some water and I washed my face with the water, and then I told them that I immersed in the mikveh. So Rabbi looked and says, buddy, you just saved yourself a few $100s. Right? He didn't need to get, because they're not married, because not Jewish. He said that, buddy, you just saved yourself a few $100s. So the ish echad b'leiv echad is a klai. So what's that?
No, if he ever went to a mikvah at a later point, then.
That I don't know. I think it has to be under the auspices of a Beis Din. I'm not sure. I've never been involved in doing a conversion. I myself never converted, so I don't know. I didn't what do you go. I never what do you go. So I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. I was involved one time. I was involved with a baby whose mother, who they were converting. I was involved. We actually went to my wife's. There was a small town, and there was a baby who was born, and the mother had converted. Now they had to do the baby, and I had to be a witness when they took the baby and dunked him in the water. What do I call it? In the mikveh? No, not that. For the vet. So that I did witness that once. But so that now there's according to the opinion that the Jews outnumbered them. Why are they afraid? It's a remarkable explanation the commentaries give. Do you know that there's a bird that is perched on a tree, way up high? I've seen a video of this. There's a snake on the ground. And the snake makes eye contact with the bird. You ever see this? The snake looks up, makes eye contact with the bird, makes eye contact with the snake. And the bird is so petrified by the snake. You see the bird on the tree, and the bird is so petrified of the snake. He just looks, and all of a sudden he just kind of passes out, falls off the tree. Right by, and the whole time you're just thinking to yourself, come on, just fly, baby, fly, fly. He can't get you up there. And the bird is so petrified, so intimidated by the snake that he can't get himself to fly, and eventually he just kind of is paralyzed and falls off the tree. Then the snake gobbles him up. That part I didn't watch, right? But the bird just faints, and he faints right in front of the snake. And I saw a video of this. There are times in life where you have nothing to be nervous about, yet your mental state is such. These were my masters. These were my masters. There was a Jewish gangster back in the 20s, a Jewish gangster named Buchalter. It was there's a book, but what are you laughing at? I'm laughing at it was a possible career choice, The guy makes some good money. If there's a book called But He Was Good to His Mother, which is about Jewish gangsters from the 20s, Bugsy Siegel and all these guys that you've heard of, what do you call it? So one of these guys was named Buchalter, was a Jewish guy, and he was so tough, so eventually they put him in the electric chair. And they were in the court case, and there was a witness who was testifying against him. Now this guy is sitting in court, he's under federal court, he's under federal arrest, and one of his subordinates had to testify against him, and the guy was trembling and shaking. He couldn't do anything to him. He's in court with FBI guys, with security guys around there. He was so intimidated by him, he couldn't do anything by it. Sometimes you have that mentality that you're just intimidated. The Jewish people were slaves. These were the masters. We outnumber them. All you got to do is everybody get together, turn around and be. there's a certain amount of intimidation because you got that slave mentality. So the Jewish people call out HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say to the Jewish people? Moshe Rabbeinu says, Vayomer Moshe, Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vayomer Moshe Elam, Al Tira'u, don't be afraid. Hisyatzvu ur'u es Yeshuas Hashem asher yaseh lechem hayom, just stand firm and watch the deliverance. Ki asher re'isa mes Mitzrayim hayom, you see the Egyptians today, lo sosifun l'rosam ad olam. Now you see them, now you don't. Right? You're not going to see the Egyptians anymore. Hashem yilochem lochem ve'atem tacharishon. Hashem will battle for you, you be silent. So the Meshech Chochmah says, what's Moshe Rabbeinu saying? What is the pasuk saying? Hashem yilochem lochem. Hashem will battle. Ve'atem tacharishon, you be silent. Meshech Chochmah says, at this point in time, the Jewish people had a somewhat valid a claim that God should spare them. Why? Because he told them to leave Egypt. They left Egypt. Now they're at the Dead Sea. They got the sea on one side, the desert on another side, wild animals over here. Now they're surrounded. They're helpless. And so they have a somewhat valid claim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help them out. Says the Beshalach Chochmah, you know what the pasuk is saying? Hashem yilochem lachem. Hashem will battle for you in the future, when you won't have a valid claim, because you're not deserving. Hashem yilochem lachem, even if ve'atem tacharishon, you have to be silent. That means we don't have a valid claim necessarily, and even then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will battle for us. And I think there's a third meaning here. I think the third meaning is Hashem will battle for you. Ve'atem tacharishon, just be quiet. Don't think that you did it yourself, which is the situation we're in today. Yeah. Oh, we did this. What we spoke about yesterday. Our Air Force and the Army. Hashem yilachem. Hashem's battling for you. Don't get all cheeky about it. We did it. Hashem yilachem. Jake, well, I'll get you 1 second. Then the Torah says something puzzling. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe ma titzak elai. What are you yelling to me? Daber el bnei Yisrael v'Yisrael. Tell the Jewish people to start moving. Where are we supposed to move to? Start moving, guys. Where to? Into the sea. Right? Why? All of a sudden, now we got to move. Why? The answer is, you're davening? Let me ask you a question. You believe in Hashem? Do you believe in Hashem? You have faith in Hashem? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Let's see it. No, I don't want to hear it now. Let's see it. See it go into the water. The famous story, this woman, somebody on the street says, "Oi! There's a little boy got hit by a car." Right? So the mother goes running frantically, and there's an older woman on the balcony. She says, "Just have faith. Don't worry. The Rebbeinu Shalom will help. The Rebbeinu Shalom will help. Don't worry." Then the mother comes back and says, "Oh, it wasn't my son. It was your grandson." She goes, "What?" All of a sudden she goes berserk. You have a lot of faith when it's somebody else. Let's see your faith right now. Let's see your faith. Rav Weinbach once told us an apocryphal story. This guy falls off a cliff, and he's holding onto a branch for dear life. He says, help, is there anybody up there? He says, yes, my son. Let go with one hand and I'll catch you. So let's go with one hand. He's dangling by the branch. He says, please, is anybody up there, please? He says, yes, let go with the other hand and I'll catch you. Is there anybody else up there? All of a sudden, what happened? I thought you had faith. I thought you were a man of faith. Moshe Rabbeinu says, now I want to see it in action. Because up until this point, they daven and they yell and they saw my deliverance. Now they have to get to the next level, which is to take that step. But what's peculiar here is, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ma titzak elai. Why are you yelling to me? Gentlemen, do you see anywhere on the page that says Moshe Rabbeinu was yelling? Where does it say here that he was yelling? Hashem says, why are you yelling? Tell the Jewish people, now's not the time to stand there and daven. Where does it say that Moshe Rabbeinu was yelling? Hashem says, why are you yelling to me? So the answer is, remember I told you about did I tell you about Reb Meir Shapiro of Lublin? The Daf Yomi Reb Meir? Okay, so Reb Meir Shapiro of Lublin. Did I tell you about the Karliner Chassid? You ever daven in the Karliner Shtibel here in Israel? They yell. The Karliners yell very loud. They daven. I think they mamish hollered the. I've never had the pleasure, but I think they hollered the davening. What's that?
Like a stadium.
Like a stadium. Mamish. Okay. So Rameir Shapiro of Labid, his Rebbe, the Rameir Shapiro, the Daf Yomi, famous Daf Yomi, his Rebbe was a short cover Rebbe. Short cover Rebbe was an Adam Gadol, obviously living in a place called Shortkov, which is why it's called the short cover Rebbe. Okay. So one day, a Karliner Chassid ended up in Shortkov on business. So he comes to the short cover Rebbe, and he says, Rebbe, I'm going to be in the shtibel this Shabbos. I'm a Karliner Chassid. Is it okay if I yell the davening? So the short cover Rebbe says to him, you may not yell the davening. Yelling is not davening. If you want to daven in our shtibel, you'll have to daven like a mensch. And otherwise you can go somewhere else. You can't yell in our shtibel. Okay. So he comes to Friday night, he comes to davening. He's on his best behavior. He's sitting on his hands, everything. He davens. Okay. Shabbos day comes again to davening. He's davening. He's still trying to behave himself. And all of a sudden he gets to Nishmas Kol Chai. He goes there, Nishmas Kol Chai. He looks around the room. Everybody's looking at the guy's embarrassed. Okay, comes up to the Rebbe after davening. He says, Rebbe, I'm sorry. I just lost control over there. I was davening. Rabbi says to him, it's perfectly okay. David HaMelech in Tehillim says there are 10 expressions that describe prayer, and one of them is called tza'aka, yelling. So it's perfectly okay. The guy says, Rabbi, I asked you if I could yell. You said I can't yell. I yelled. Now you're telling me it's okay. What's going on? He says, listen, when a Jew comes to me on Tuesday, he says, by the way, Shabbos, I plan on yelling. He says, that's not davening, that's yelling. When a Jew is davening, and spontaneously there's ishtapchus alev, you're overcome with emotion, and the prayer that comes bursting forth. That's already tefillah. That's already yelling. Says the Zohar. The Zohar says, "Tze'aka is not in your mouth. Tze'aka is in your heart." Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Ma titzak elai." Why are you yelling? Yelling means you're yelling with your heart. Ma titzak, you're yelling with your heart. That Moshe Rabbeinu is yelling in his heart. That's davening. Person has to know that when we daven, you don't have to make noise. To the contrary, the Gemara says a person who davens out loud means he has very little faith. I'm not talking about Karliner Chasidim. They have a minhag, whatever their minhag is. I'm not talking about Karliner Chasidim. But we, who daven differently, to go daven out loud is an indication of lack of faith. Why is that?
Specifically Shemona Esrei?
Anything. Yeah, specifically, when you talk about tefillah, we talk about Shemona Esrei. But why? Oh, well, Hashem can't hear me otherwise. Well, you can't hear me otherwise. Yeah, all of a sudden I got to yell. So it is true if you're davening, especially if you're davening by yourself at home. Sometimes when you're davening by yourself, unless you daven out loud, you're going to space out. When I daven on those occasions that I daven at home, if I daven by myself, I daven louder because that's going to keep me focused. That's permissible according to halacha. But to go and daven out loud is because I think you're davening on what? Hashem can't hear you otherwise. The true tza'aka is in the heart. The true yell comes from internal. It should be an internal yell. Therefore, Hashem says to Moshe, "Ma titzak elai, daber el b'nei so v'yiso." One say, Jake had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just back to the when God asked them to go into the water. How is their faith in question again? Like, were the 10 things not good enough for them?
Oh, good question. The answer is the 10 plagues didn't demand anything from them. 10 plagues is something that they witnessed. And so my faith is at a really high level right now because I witnessed 10. How high a level is it? You witnessed 10 plagues. If we witnessed 10 plagues, we'd be on a very high level of faith. Are you on a high enough level of faith to walk into the water? Let's see that. There's a swirling sea in front of you. Now, there's a deeper reason for this. You see, yeah, the deep sea, right? There's a deeper reason for this. The Jewish people had a certain prosecution against them. The angel said to God, "Halalu ovdei avodah zarah v'halalu ovdei avodah zarah." The Jewish people stumbled in Egypt. The Jewish people had what do you call it? They were also involved at whatever level it was of idol worship. How do you turn that around completely? How do you do tshuva for that avera of avodah? That would require what we call blind faith. I don't even like the expression blind faith, because it's not blind faith. You know, when Michael Jordan was playing for the playing for the Bulls, that was Freudian slip. When Michael Jordan was playing for the Bulls, we had faith in Michael Jordan. Doesn't mean every time. It wasn't blind faith. There was very good logical reason for having faith in Michael Jordan, right? We had faith he was going to win. It wasn't blind faith. Blind faith means you have no evidence whatsoever. When people say, oh, you mean Judaism is about blind faith in God. That's silly. That's immature. It's not about blind faith. To the contrary. It's about intellectual faith. Everything about it indicates that we should have faith, so we have faith. It's not blind faith. You have to have faith. Here, you have to have absolute faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu because you rejected HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the faith, you went to the opposite extreme by worshiping idols. Now let's see absolute ultimate faith, because action, my father used to say, put your money where your religion is. You ever heard the expression, put your money where your mouth is? So put your money where your religion is. People talk from, they shuckle a lot, and all sorts of, let's see you spend some money on the religion. Let's see you spend some money on a lulav and an esrog, then you're religious. Let's see you give up money in a business deal because you might have done something because it might be dishonest. And let's see you walk away from a pile of money because it might not be kosher according to Allah. Then you're a religious person. Put your money where your religion is. Let's see, that's the test. Not to talk and say Baruch Hashem a lot, doesn't, not impressed. Or bli ayin hara, or bli neder, or bli shvua, or bli anything, whoever bli is, right? I don't know, who's Billy Nader? I'm just in Billy. I'm just saying, let's see you do it. Let's see you get up early in the morning for minyan. Instead of talking about how much you believe in Hashem, let's see you get up early in the morning for minyan. Yeah. Now we're talking about science fiction. Yeah. Then we see how religious you are. Right? Let's see you spend $100 on an esrog. Right? You gotta pick up that thing. That's a nice esrog. How much is this? 450 shekels. Not that nice. Yeah. Let's see you spend the money. Let's see you walk away from a business deal because a Rav said to you, well, you really can't invest in that business because they sell treif food. Even though the stock market's going to shoot up on the shares are going to shoot up. Let's see you walk away from it. That's a test of your religion. Let's see you walk into the water, boys. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, up until this point, they followed him. What happens over here? He stands back and they go. Let's see you do it on your own now. Let's see your faith now. That's the ultimate test. All right, to be TBC, as they say.